Doesn't work. It'll work.
Okay. I would like to try an experiment with you as a red-blooded male.
Okay.
I would like you to conjure the image in your mind of a woman who is not beautiful but is hot.
Okay.
Can you do it?
Sure.
Okay. Can you conjure the image of a woman who is beautiful but not hot?
Yes.
No problem.
No problem.
Me either. This, I think, actually is a window into much that is wrong with what we think about human sexuality. I think most people, if you ask them without doing that little experiment, to conjure or to define what it is for somebody to be hot, you would get answers and people would tell you that hot was sort of like the height of beauty, right? Which is very frightening if that's true, because hotness wanes with age. It deteriorates. It just can't help it. The discovery that beauty actually is a different parameter tells a whole different story about what's going on with us people, with men and with women. And I think both men and women are confused by this. So if it is true, and I mean, I know it is true, I can look inside my own mind and I can say that at least for some men, it is true that beauty and hotness are almost uncorrelated. There are people who have both traits, but I have no trouble seeing that image of a woman who is hot but not the least bit beautiful. And I know lots of women who are beautiful and not hot. And I also, if I take the category of women who are beautiful but not hot, there are a lot of older women in it, right? I know women in their 60s and 70s who have poise, have aged gracefully, they're gray as can be, they may be wrinkled, but if you talk to them, one does have the sense, I'm talking to a beautiful person, right? And I'm not being maudlin here. If it was just a simple fact that both beauty and hotness waned with age, I would say so. But it is not the case. So what's going on? Why do we have these two categories? And why do we assume, I mean, if you look at advertising, you will get the message that hotness is where it's at, right? Hotness is the thing.
It's the only standard possible.
It's the only standard. And so women are aspiring to it, and then they're fighting it as it wanes and all of this. And here's what I suspect is up. Because males are males, they have, I want to say they have 2 reproductive strategies. Really, they have 3 reproductive strategies, and one of them is so awful that it's really just unpleasant to even enter it into the discussion. But
You're talking about rape.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first reproductive strategy that men have, the one that would generally have succeeded, and by the way, we can talk about monogamy versus polyamory and all of that at some point, but I'm not saying anything that is inherent. It's not inherently about monogamy. The way males have typically reproduced is they have invested in their offspring and the mothers of their offspring. That's the go-to mechanism for reproducing as a human. Why? Because human babies are so needy that one person trying to raise them on their own is hobbled by just the sheer difficulty of trying to manage an infant and a toddler while trying to accomplish the other things of being a person.
So let me just add here that the idea that monogamy has been ubiquitous throughout human history is not completely accepted, but that there is good evidence for it on a lot of fronts. And one of the points against it is that we remain somewhat sexually dimorphic, that men are on average a bit taller, a bit more much more muscular, but that we are so much less sexually dimorphic than even our ancestors, in more recent times than when we shared a more recent common ancestor with chimps, that we are moving towards a more monogamous situation.
So I think you said something that was unclear at the beginning. There has been a lot of polygyny where one male has multiple females in human history. Probably the majority of human cultures have been polygynous.
Yes.
The majority of people on Earth today belong to cultures that are at least nominally monogamous. And we should talk about what that shift is and what it means to us and what's desirable and all of that. But the basic point that human babies are so expensive and difficult to raise that you need a team to do it. And, in part, this is a chicken and egg question is not a good term because it's quite clear which came first. But this is a situation where when you have a team, you can also afford to have a baby that's more needy. And there's nothing good about a needy baby, but there is something good about what you can get if you can tolerate a needy baby. You can get a baby that's a lot more nuanced when it grows up. So males have traditionally invested in offspring. But a male who is investing in their offspring, should they happen on an opportunity in which a female who is fertile and capable of producing an offspring does not require commitment from them in order to have sex, that's an evolutionary bargain. A male who can either convince a female or finds a female who's willing to produce a baby but not expect any support in return, that's such a power. It's like winning the lottery evolutionarily. So it would have almost never happened in history because women, because babies are so expensive, are wired to avoid this like the plague. You don't want to get stuck raising a baby on your own if you could, through committing to somebody, get a partner in raising an offspring.
So how does birth control factor into that?
Well, we'll get there in a second, but let's just get the two strategies on the table. Males, in general, have succeeded reproductively by investing in their offspring and their offspring's mothers. When they have the opportunity to produce offspring with no commitment, they have a hard time resisting that opportunity because it's such an evolutionary win. But that doesn't mean it would have been very common in history because females would avoid it. So
can't look away from hot is about that second strategy.
Right. So hot is this channel that men they are wired in such a way that they actually, we've been robbed of every useful term, they are triggered by the sight of a woman who is broadcasting hotness, right? And so anyway, the thing that I think is most important about this is we now live in a culture where we have advertisers essentially creating a kind of insecurity because insecurity causes people to spend money they otherwise wouldn't. That insecurity has women trying to capture male attention by broadcasting hotness, which of course works because men have a hard time ignoring hotness. But what I think women often don't understand is that getting a man's attention by broadcasting hotness has him in the frame of mind of this second reproductive strategy, and it is actually counterproductive to getting his attention for the first reproductive strategy because men have historically, this is, by the way, this is where I'm going to get in huge trouble with people because this is going to sound like an accusation. Really, I'm just trying to describe what has been, and then we can talk about what we should do about it. But a woman who values herself highly in reproductive terms will not leap on a sexual opportunity just because it's available, because what's at stake is so great historically for women. This is not true anymore because of birth control, but historically it would be true that a sexual interaction is basically baby roulette, and baby roulette is a dangerous game to play.
And so we get at some of what's true underneath the stereotype of the Madonna whore dichotomy, right? That neither of those words is quite right because no one wants a Madonna, no one wants a virgin as a life partner, right? You want to have a vibrant sexual relationship with your life partner, but are you triggering the hotness? Can I get a baby out of you and never see it? Strategy in men, or are you triggering the, oh my God, you're gorgeous, and I feel like we could do this together?
I hate to interrupt you, but you got to pull this thing close to you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, just move that sucker around so it's comfortable where you're sitting.
How about that?
It's very different. It sounds okay in our ears, but it's very
Yes, it
different
does.
in the audio. Sorry.
Perfect. No good.
So
So anyway, the Madonna horror complex, which is this famous thing, isn't the paradox that we are led to believe. Men are interested in, as Heather points out, Madonna and horror are the wrong terms. They're very charged. But
Right.
Men are interested in both of these reproductive strategies, but they are not paradoxically searching for them in the same individual.